Our next presenter is Dr. Michael Jones, who will be talking to us about increasing motivation and retention. And I added a subtitle there, Michael, in the volunteer services. Over to you.
Thank you, everyone. This will be a very different presentation from all of the others. There's no blood, no gore. So we can start off with this statement. So around about half of those people who volunteer in...
Could I just, if you don't mind standing here so that online, yes, thank you.
Half of the people who volunteer for the State Emergency Service don't last 12 months. If you overlay that with what's happening with our environment, so increasing storms and natural emergency events, eventually we're going to run out of people when we need them the most. So what we did was look at how we can develop something that will help volunteers, or at least the leaders of volunteers, keep them and have them engaged and I guess wanting to be there and doing the work that we really need them to do. So there's lots of basic leadership courses around. The thing is about emergency services, and I should say that we started off with State Emergency Service and then went through all of the emergency services. Australia started working with them all, and now we're working with Surf Lifesaving, who are again another emergency service organisation. So there's lots of leadership programs out there, but the environment within which these volunteers volunteer is a very different environment. And when you want to motivate volunteers, it's quite hard because you can't just pay them more or give them overtime. They're there on their own volition. So we looked at developing something that would work on the basic human psychological needs that we all have and addressing those so that people would want to work in that workplace and would want to do the tasks that they have to volunteer for. And you can see that there's it specifically addresses that unique environment. And what we found was it actually does demonstrate increased leadership capacity, develops the retention that they were looking for. And the course up there, you can see on the slide, it was a 9-week course, very practical, very based on what they needed to know. The difference that we're making, so it is actually doing a great job. We're seeing significant increase in terms of retention, motivation. You can see also we're talking about 2 different types of leaderships or management of people. One is a very controlling management style, and in the environment with which they work, it's a very command and control environment. So naturally, a lot of the leaders who have been there and working for a long time tend to be very sort of micromanaging, and that's not good for people who volunteer. And we found that this program not only developed the opposite, which is autonomous leadership, and built that up quite well, but it also changed the attitudes of people who are command and control and micromanaging, who's trying to slip out of that attitude and again help people to want to be there. We tested it over 1 year to see how much of this training is retained, and a fair amount of it was retrained 1 year later. And in terms of impact, many of the elements within our course are now being rolled out, have been rolled out in emergency services, and now rolling out into Surf Lifesaving around Australia. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just again, highlighting that leadership is not leadership. So we need these bespoke understanding of the different leadership environments and what people need within the different environments. And certainly these emergency services are very trying on the volunteers, and having the appropriate leadership is really important. Is there a question for Michael from the audience? So what did you find, or do you understand what the principal intervention is that has had the most impact on the way that leaders operate and how that has led to volunteer retention?
It's a good question. So the principles that...
In front of the camera.
Yeah, that's a good question. The principles we employ are those basic psychological needs we all have. And one of the biggest impacts, and we can all take this to our workplace, is actually recognizing your staff as people, as individuals that have lives outside of this environment. So just acknowledging that people are important to you as a leader is one of them. I could go on forever, but that's probably the one take-home message is, yeah, treat people like they're really important.
Great, thank you. Next.